people that are going to want to listen to this replay. And I do want to start off by reminding us all that we are in the 2 make it or break it months. So I've been talking about October and November being the break it or make it months for the world. And I've been talking about this already for over a year. So, these times that we're in, they have been predicted, if you will. They've been talked about by many different people, and we're here now. And I want to start off this workshop just by encouraging all of you, because I know the alignments we're having, they're showing it all. What was it, Corolla, Chiron with Black Moon Lilith together, this combination, wow. You're getting the dark, repressed Black Moon Lilith. You're putting it together with all the old wounds. That's intense. Well, many of you are having very intense alignments, including myself. So this is a time where we're all experiencing the intensity of the alignments, and it's not easy. There's definitely a very charged collective energy that we're working with here. So I want to encourage you. Really, I just want to encourage you because we're doing it. We're getting there. The astrology points to a calmer time from spring on. So if you get your software and you start to look at all the transits and the things going on, you're going to see that everything starts to kind of ease up, all the big squares, right now the intensity is in Taurus, and it's going to build up in Taurus. Why? First Black Moon Lilith entered there. Uranus is already there waiting. Now that Black Moon Lilith is there, soon we're going to have the conjunction of Black Moon Lilith and Uranus together. Now this is going to potentially be big for the world too when this happens. And I gave my dates in my last, was it the new moon video or the full moon video I did? My last video, I gave you guys the dates. So that's the second step. Then the third step is going to be when Mars joins. Mars is an energizer. So when Mars joins Taurus, everything's going to culminate. And that's going to be a lot globally as well. So these are the patches that we have to kind of get over here and go through before things start to ease up. Up until now, we've had a lot of concentration in the cardinal energy, which is the Aries and the Capricorn. And because they were in a square, just intensified it. We had all those big conjunctions. Now it's the energy in Taurus that we're looking at. So this is the big culminating point for the world. After this, it's going to start to dissipate, and all these big intense squares and oppositions and energy focuses in astrology are going to start to but we have a patch to go, and right now the energy is shifting because the focus is not anymore in the cardinal signs, and now it's in Taurus. So even as an astrologer, what you do is, what's the difference between the energies of Capricorn and Aries and Taurus? So right now you look and you see, we have Uranus in there. So you kind of start your way up from there because those components are going to come and join. That's how you work with astrology to see what's coming and what's the energies that are coming. So we're here. I definitely want to hear some from you of your charts if you want to share, because now we're going to start to transition into our next lunar return, and I'm going to teach you a new tip as well for lunar returns, for other charts. This is not just a tip. This is a technique. This is really crucial in astrology. How to work with rulers, planetary rulers, rulerships, very important. You master this over here, you get a lot of your astrology work done. You can read in between the lines. So I know many of you are preparing to transition. How many of you in here, if you can raise your hands, the ones that have camera, how many have already transitioned into the new lunar return? Okay, 1, 2, 3, Sizzy, Jen, Sharon, 4. Okay, so have you already noticed the transition? And this is a question for everybody. If you haven't yet transitioned into the next lunar return, then I want you to have your current and next lunar return in front of you. How many of you have already paid attention to the transition from the previous month or the month you're in right now on to the next one based on the ascendant's sign? Okay, all right, good. Next question. Have you noticed any correlations with your themes for the month? Just by looking at the sign. Wow. So let's remind you all that we have a really powerful starting point with the ascendant. And that was the first thing that we learned in our class. Remember? The ascendant. So looking at your ascendant, whoever wants to share in a few words, because it's good to have examples for people to have those keywords and see how it plays out. If you want to share what your previous ascendant's sign is, and the switch to the current or the next that you're going into, please feel free, as well as some keywords that did happen in your month with the previous one. Okay, so I'll start. I'll give you an example. Mine, Libra. Now, you're going to see that you're going to get the same ascendant several months in a row. You're going to get the same energy focus. Well, I've gotten Libra already several times. I got Libra again. So my themes have a lot to do with relationships. It also brings the overall vibe of the Libra energy into my environment. And of course, because it's in my first house, this is also a lot of how I transmit myself and carry myself. But the overall themes of Libra are very strong in my chart. So if you have any sign coming up on your ascendant for the previous one, feel free to share.
Trying to find some trends.
Hi, Paul.
Hi there. Try to find some trends in like I'm kind of scattered, honestly. My energies are just everywhere. I have several projects all at the same time, and me being the major one. It's like
I like that.
My ascendant in September was Cancer. So here's the thing: is I started caring about stuff more than what I had in the past. Certain specific types of goals of mine, and they're kind of in the esoteric realm, I'll say. Some of this had some insights about a little bit of that. And then the one that I'm working in right now is higher studies in Sag. So I've been doing a lot more research and thinking and meditating upon these types of things. And then on November 8th, I'll transition to Gemini, where I plan to talk about stuff.
Okay. All right. I love that.
Is that what you mean?
So Cancer, Sagittarius, and then Gemini. These are your three. So you were in Cancer, now you're in Sagittarius, and then next Gemini.
Correct.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, just by getting overall keywords of these energies, you're already able to locate overall themes for your month. Now, another component that you're going to add to this is remember that these energies, for example, Cancer, these are energies that are happening for everybody because they work with transits, they work with real-time planetary alignments. So if you have a Cancer rising, then most likely, depending on the degree of Cancer, you're bringing up whatever transits are happening in Cancer, you're bringing that to your focus that month. For example, last month I had the Aries energy come up in my ascendant, which is Black Moon, Lilith, Mars, right? All that. So when you have that know-how, when you remember that those energies are playing for the world, what is happening in Cancer? Well, right now, not that much. We do have the opposite Capricorn happening, so there is that. If he gets Cancer for his ascendant, then that puts Capricorn, which is the big make it or break it, on his descendant, which is his relationships with others. So, understanding when you already have that, oh, Cancer, that's what's happening in Cancer. Next one is Gemini. What was the first thing that came to my mind? Oh my God, that's where the North Node is. When we know when the North Node comes up in your ascendant, ooh, the focus is on you. This is the universe, you. There's something about you that you're ready to shine, you're ready to stand out more, you're ready to be a little more visible. So even without looking at his chart, I already know that these energies are energies that are playing for the world, and I know what they are communicating at that month. So when you bring Cancer onto your ascendant, Gemini onto your ascendant, you're also bringing all those energies. So your interpretation it brings a lot more faster. And that's just for lunar returns, okay? That's just a little tip there for you. Awesome. Jen, I saw your mouth moving. I think you have something to say.
Yeah, so this past lunar return, my ascendant was Gemini. And then the one I just moved into on the 25th is Virgo. So it's really interesting to notice a transition when the ruler of your ascendant is the same.
Yeah. Oh, good one. Good one. Good
Your
one.
ascendant is the same. Yes. So I don't know if it's I'll have to pay attention for the next one, because my next ascendant for my December lunar return will be back in Capricorn, conjunct my vertex anti-vertex axis. So I'll have to pay more attention to see if it changes, noticing the transition then. But the transition kind of flowed better for me. I also had the North Node conjunct my ascendant last month.
Wow.
Plus I have Venus conjunct my ascendant this month, but just going from Mercury being more Gemini-ish, which is more like networking, plus the North Node, and then Virgo, which is more like service oriented and that kind of thing. And I've just been getting more into crystals, like body healing, like having certain crystals on my body. I even got a download to do a full moon meditation, which I don't normally do specific stuff for that kind of thing. But just really being much more focused on the body. Plus, I signed up for 2 levels of certification in traditional Japanese acupuncture.
Wow, that is definitely a Virgo thing right there. Learning. Yeah, that's so Virgo.
Learning to serve. Learning that'll eventually be used for service. So
yes, that's very Virgo energy. So you guys are already being able to detect some of the energies associated with the signs that come up for people's risings. This is just the overall starting point, and then seeing how they transition from month to month. Super powerful to watch that transition happen.
Yeah.
Like Myra pointed out the other day, it's from night to day. You can feel the transition from one day to the next, literally, of that ascendant.
Yeah, and then for Capricorn, which is very 10th house, so I'm learning it's like transitioning from learning to maybe starting to put it into practice. And
When it comes to the rest of the charts and the rest of the alignments, when you're working with lunar returns, remember that these are energies that are happening for everybody. So if you're talking about Capricorn, we're talking about the make it or break it.
yeah,
So this is what you do is you get the current energies at play. So the make it or break it, I've been talking about it as the component that's been really pushing us all to own our power, own our power. And it's been that break it point for a long time. And now we're all experiencing that. This is it. Like we're all having to roll up our sleeves, tap into our last reserves, and allow ourselves to be transformed by this experience, get our power in the process, and remake ourselves. This is the entirety of what's happening in the Capricorn scene. So, as Capricorn bounces around from house to house every month, it's just carrying that make it or break it energy to different factors of your life. So with Paul, he was sharing, this ascendant on Cancer. Most likely, the make it or break it was on his seventh, depending on what degree it was in. But that automatically puts the make it or break it focus for the month on you in relationships to others. With you, Jen, that month, or I don't know if it's the next one, coming up on the 10th house. This is having you experience that make it or break it point on your authority expression. This is where you really have to just take control of a lot of things in your life, including.
So the next one, it's the ascendant. So it would be the first house.
If you're getting it on the ascendant, this is everything about you and your physical expression that is ready to embody this energy. There's a huge release of energy here. This is like you stepping and owning your power in a big way.
I just noticed something that I'm not quite sure. I don't comprehend that. Anyways, I just say, okay, so the last one, my ascendant was Cancer, but that was sort of like near my natal north node. And then October, now the ascendant is Sagittarius near the current south node. And then next time is near the north node, the current north node in Gemini. So I'm kind of noticing the correlation of the ascendant and both the nodes from natal and the current chart.
Yes, you know what? That's really interesting when you start to notice the order of the months, and you start to see, oh, this in here, this in here. You start to see all these very interesting correlations. And when you're getting time and again the north node standing out to you, talking to you, coming up on these angular houses, which are very important, there's something talking to you about this greater soul, the greater finger of God here, wanting you to step up your game. If it's in your ascendant, is you being seen, you taking more of a leader role. Very interesting to notice, because this is a language. This is not a linear thing that, oh, let me see what's happening in my week. No, this is a continuation of a story. We're going to talk more about the nodes maybe on the next lunar return. In case you haven't noticed, I've been using every lunar return to introduce a new concept. And the lunar nodes are extremely important in any chart, including lunar returns. So we're going to go more in depth maybe next time about how to use lunar nodes for your lunar returns. But that is significant, yes. Another thing that you're going to notice is that how you have, Cancer, maybe let's say 2 months. Maybe I had it 2 months ago, I'm having it today again, Cancer. Well, the last time I had it and this time I have it, the themes are still similar, but there are variations. Maybe one of them, the degree is going to determine a lot. If it's in the beginning of Cancer, it's going to bring a lot of specific energies for you. And if it's in the end of Cancer, it may bring others if there are planets there. And also the second time that Cancer ascendant comes around, the planets have slightly shifted in the sky, some of them. So it does bring a little bit new energy into the into the lunar return. But there's still a lot of same themes that are coming up again. The next step in getting more details about your ascendant is with the concept that I have to teach you of rulers. So when I start teaching that, it's gonna complement a lot more the energies of your ascendant and a lot of other placements in your chart, not just your ascendant. Okay. Is there anyone else in here that would like to share anything but haven't talked yet? Gerald? Hello, my dear.
Hello, good morning, Raquel, and both fellow astrologers. Can you guys hear me clearly? I'm kind of being in the mountains, so I'm not sure.
Do you want to? I can't hear you very well. Are you close to the microphone?
Yeah, I am. I'm camping in the mountains, so can you hear me now?
It's breaking up a lot. Can you guys hear him? More or less.
A little bit. We hear you a little bit, but it's like that, kind of.
Okay, let's try again. If you want to try to speak up and get close to the mic. Ooh, now I think he's muted. Here. Let me see.
Okay, now I can hear you. I'm sorry, I was muted.
There you go. There you go. Okay, now I can hear you. Perfect.
Good morning, Raquel, and also my fellow astrologers. What's interesting, so on my lunar return, which is on the 20th, my ascendant is in Pisces, and the descendant is in Virgo. My IC has my north node like probably maybe 1 or 2 degrees off of it, and IMC, of course, has the south node. But what I saw that's interesting, because you mentioned to look at the next one, which is in November 17th. Actually, everything just switched. So my descendant is actually now will be in Pisces, and my ascendant will be in the Virgo, and the north node and south node will be switched as well with the MCIC.
Oh, wow. You know, when that happens in a lunar return, I mean, typically when this happens like on a solar return, this is like a turnaround of energies. This is an energy that we say things go upside down, sideways, like things just, whatever it is, it goes, it's like a 180-degree turn. Midheaven, IC, descendant, ascendant. These are usually energies like for a solar return. When I see that, these energies reversed from your natal chart and your solar return. Let's say I was born with a Sagittarius ascendant and a Gemini descendant. If I get a solar return where I have Gemini as my ascendant and Sagittarius as my descendant, this is a year where the energies are everything's going to turn around for me. It may be 180 this way or that way, but things are going to change. And lunar returns, you can take that like notches down. You're working with energies that are reversed. So I experienced that from last to this lunar return. I didn't really feel it so much as energies shifting as much as I just noticed last month I had Aries on my ascendant and Libra on my descendant. So I noticed that overall, I was really coming across with that strong energy, even when I didn't try, even if I didn't say anything. It's that Aries, Black Moon, Lilith, Mars coming across in my ascendant. And definitely a lot of Libra relationships. Oh my God, so much. But now I have that switched. Now I have Libra on my ascendant and Mars and all those energies on my descendant. And it's so interesting to notice how even my close friends, they will tell me that. They'll be like, whoa, what's happening? It literally feels like when I go out, people are going out of their way to attack me. Like the smallest little things, even waiters, like everybody. So sometimes I'm tempted to be like, hello, I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything, right? But then I remember I have that really intense, spicy, hot combination of Aries on my descendant. So this is how I'm experiencing. People are coming across to me with that extra edge. Of course, I know people are also going through it, so it makes it easier to navigate these situations. But when you have that reversed energy from one month to another, just notice it. Notice it. See how when you get to November 17th, if that's what you said, you're going to see how the energies are going to switch. And then just notice how before the energies, they had that focus on you, on that sign, and now that sign is reversed. It's on others. So that's how you feel and experience the energies overall with others. So lunar returns is a little bit simpler than like solar returns. And solar return, when the energy reverses from your need, from what you were born with, and you get the same thing but reversed on the angles for the solar return, that's a big year, big year. So those are just additional comments to what you said there, just to add. But did you want to say anything else?
No, it's just like I said, it's an interesting year. I'm really excited, and as well as learning. So I'm doing more of observing but understanding. So because of understanding of where the planetary alignment's at, so my environment as within myself, then I understand what's going on. So it makes the whole process of experience of life easier.
Right. That's what I always say. I just love that. I love it. It's wild. It's wild. And I do want to encourage all of you to continue observing your lunar returns in action. This is how I learned so much of my astrology, was just month after month letting, okay, what's next lunar return, and getting familiar with these energies. Getting familiar with what does a Cancer on an ascendant feel like? Am I maybe a little more emotional? Is there more focus on women, on mother, on home? Getting familiar with these energies so that next time they come around, or if you're going to look at someone's chart, you have a good idea because you've been observing, you've been noticing. And so notice, this month it's the shift. There's shift of energies. Notice it. Very good. So next question to you guys is, and this is a rhetorical question because I just want to bring your attention to this, the moon. How many here, you could raise your hand, how many here have been observing the moon in your lunar returns? Yeah, okay, we got a couple here. The moon is a very important component in lunar returns. We're working with a lunar chart. So noticing where the moon is from month to month is very important, and also part of noticing the lunar returns. So I want to remind you and encourage you to look at the house that the moon falls into on every lunar return. Now I want to encourage you to start stacking. Get the energy of your ascendant, whether it's last month or this month or next month. Get the energy of the ascendant. Now put it together with the energy of where the moon is at for you, whatever house it is in. Those two energies are very important for your month ahead. The moon is showing where your emotional awareness is at, a great deal of your emotional awareness for the month. Now, because the moon can tend to be a little more hidden, okay, these are energies that can be a little more internal. This doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's going to notice this right away, but it is an emotional concern or awareness from your part for that month. Now, especially if you're getting a Cancer for your ascendant, then the moon becomes even more important for you that month. So I know Myra had a couple months ago. Myra, don't you have another Cancer coming up, or is it this? Are you already in it?
I'm in it right now, and I'll have one more month too. I think the last month I'll have another.
Okay, when did you begin this one?
October 21st.
Okay, so October 21st, this was already, you're already well in it.
Yeah.
So what you do, just give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Yeah, just got it. Okay, sorry. Back. So when you stack these energies over here of ascendant and moon together, that's a really powerful combination because lunar returns are about the moon. You are working with the moon. So when you have the sign come up, Cancer come up on your ascendant, the moon becomes even stronger for you. So I'm curious, Myra, since you're already in that Cancer month again, because you already went through it once while observing it. And I'm curious just to know if some of the same themes came up around this energy of Cancer for you. I know last time with the Cancer energy, you had a lot of the women, right? Mother, sister, and then that's when you also came here and were here with me. So the moon energy was definitely very strong that month. How's this month working out for you with that energy?
This month is I think it's more based on my personal emotions. I see that shift versus that last time I had it, it was like a lot of, the women in my life.
The women, more of the external, yeah.
Yeah, but I do feel like a focus on, because my natal moon is in Capricorn, so it always pushes when I get that ascendant, it pushes my moon into the 7th house. So I do feel like almost like an emotional awareness, or even like being available to like people in my life, like, yeah.
And let me ask you, where is the moon on this month's lunar return for you?
The 7th house again.
Oh, well, okay, right, because the moon doesn't change.
Yeah.
That's another thing. You're going to get your natal placements. Your natal placements are also going to be joining the party here in these configurations. So that's another layer we're going to be adding. We've already talked about that. I know many of you know how to do that. But yeah, knowing where your moon is coming up is really, really big. Your moon never changes signs on lunar returns. So, it's interesting to notice here we have Cancer in 2 months, and we have similar themes come up. Each month is slightly different, right? There's different variations, but there is that energy coming up again. So I know many of you are getting that. That's interesting to notice with these energies. So let me see. Jasmine is saying that she has Cancer ascendant this month. Oh, just like Myra. Okay, so Jasmine, are you, out of curiosity, are you feeling a little more emotional this month?
I felt like
what your feminine energies are.
I felt like I'm able to pamper myself a little bit more.
Oh, look at that. Isn't it interesting to notice the different ways that the Cancer energies come up for people? So, all right. Where's the moon in your lunar return this month?
For this month, it's 12th house.
Okay. So remember, whenever you do get a Cancer ascendant, you're most likely getting that moon in the 12th house as well, because the moon will never change signs. And so if you get a certain degree in sign here, the moon is always going to be in the same position, in the same placement in your chart. Well, that brings a big difference here. And I'm going to use this as a segue to introduce the concept of rulers for you. Here we have Jasmine and Myra, both with Cancer on their ascendant. Now, both Jasmine and Myra are getting a lot of similar themes here to work with for the month ahead. Okay, and these are all just starting points. We're not getting specific. They're just normal, like the general themes and energy here with the Cancer energy. Now, what's going to be the difference of Jasmine's month and Myra's month? Well, this is where we start to look at other details of the chart. And one very, 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 very big important factor is looking at the ruler of your ascendant for the month. So here we have the ascendant of Cancer. We know that the ruler is the moon, right? So what we want to do here is we want to track and find where the moon is in the chart. Now, for those that have a Sagittarius rising, you want to track Jupiter. If you're having an Aries ascendant coming up, you want to track Mars. And this is how you start to include rulers into your analysis. Now, the concept and the basis here, the principle of rulers, is that every sign corresponds with a planet. Now, we learned about this in the archetypes. For those that have been doing the archetype or have already completed, we are learning about how these energies, they correspond. The sign, there's a house, and there's a planet that corresponds to the same energy. In astrology, we call the planet that corresponds to the sign, we call that ruler. So for example, Mars would be the ruler of Aries. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, Mercury of Gemini, and I'm hoping all of you already know this, Moon of Cancer, the Sun rules Leo, and okay, there are little variations. There's the traditional, there's some people have, oh, this rules this or this rules that. This is the more used one. This is the one that we've been using that works, and it's the one that most people use today. This is the rulerships, okay? So the Sun rules Leo, Moon rules Cancer. Then we have Mercury for Virgo. We have Venus for Libra again, Pluto for Scorpio, Jupiter for Sagittarius, Saturn for Capricorn, Uranus for Aquarius, and Pisces Neptune for Pisces. I hope I didn't miss any here. But these are the rulers and the signs. So all you have to do is look at the sign coming up on your ascendant. And now, because this is such a powerful concept, I'm going to give you a moment to sit with the ruler of your ascendant, not only for the lunar return, but for your natal chart, for your solar return, and any other chart you want to work with. Even if you're doing horary astrology, which is more of a temporary, divination technique. Oh my God, the ruler of your ascendant is one of the most important parts of the chart. So find the ruler of your ascendant. When you're looking at your natal chart, you're looking here at a planet that has energies for your entire blueprint, your entire journey here. This is a planet that is strong for you, important for you. We call this planet the ruler of your chart. So for example, I can say that the ruler of my chart is Jupiter because I have a Sagittarius rising. Same for you, Myra, right? Do some of you want to go on and say what the ruler of your chart is for your natal chart? Not lunar return, your natal chart.
Pluto is mine.
I'll go.
What's that?
I'm Plutonian.
Okay. Paul, Pluto? Yes. Venus, okay.
This is Deidre. My chart ruler is Jupiter. I have Sagittarius ascendant.
Ooh, there you go. There you go. Anyone else?
Mine is Virgo.
Virgo, so that would make, who would be the ruler of your Virgo ascendant?
Sorry, my ascendant is on Virgo, so it would be Mercury.
Absolutely right, yes. Who else?
Mine is Saturn.
Okay, Saturn is the ruler. Wow. That's, whatever the ruler is of your chart for, and I'm talking here now your natal chart. We're going to go back to lunar return soon. Your natal chart ruler, it's a big planet for you. This is a planet that I don't care where it is. It could be tucked away in your fourth house, or it could be on your midheaven. That planet, if it's the ruler of your chart, this is the big boy here for you. Now, it's not the absolute number one planet for you, but it definitely is, I'd say after the sun, moon, and rising, the ruler of your rising is the fourth most important thing to look at in your chart. So I'm going to give you a little more tips here very soon, but just getting familiar that the overall energy of the planet that rules your chart is a super important planet for you in your life. The energy of Saturn is very strong in your path, in your expression. It's a very important planet for you.
Raquel, I just had a realization because my Saturn, my natal chart is also right on the cusp of my 8th house. And this year, it's all about the unraveling of my 8th house. It's all about, like, in all my lunar return charts. And I remember when we had the reading last year, even my solar return, it was so much, it was focused my north node, and it's also my natal north node is in the 8th house, but also my solar return was in the 8th house. And there is this, and now it's all unraveling. I can literally this year, it's just all accumulation.
And you see it and you're like, oh, well, how's this going to play out? And then you see it playing out and you're like, all right, I get it.
Yeah.
Now I know what the 8th house is like. You know what? What you're sharing here is the next step, what I'm about to share. Like, if for those of you hearing, you may be like, 8th house, what is she talking about? I thought we were talking about Saturn. How did the 8th house get in there? Well, this is the next thing I'm going to show you very soon, because right now I want to bring focus right now to how important the planet is. So right now we're getting familiar with the concept of the planet being associated with your theme for your life, for your month. And how we do that is we get the energy of the ascendant, the planet that corresponds to it. That is going to be a very big theme in your life. Again, only sticking to the natal for now, and then we're going to see how that applies for the lunar return. And when you have that energy established, is it Saturn? Is it Jupiter? Is it Mercury? What is the ruler of my chart? And you know that planet is a big personality in your life. The next thing you do is you start to study it. You get that planet, you get that Mercury, you get that Saturn, you get that Jupiter, and you're like, hon, let's get to know each other. You're a big dude here in my path, in my life, in my journey, so let's get to know you. So if you stop and notice here, I think we have several people with a Sagittarius rising. And so let's use that as an example. I know we have me, Myra, Sizzy, you also have it, right? No, you don't have a Sagittarius rising on your natal chart?
I do. Deidre.
Deidre. Sizzy, what's yours again?
Mine is Venus. I have Libra on my ascendant, so I have Venus.
For your natal chart?
Yeah, for my natal one. Yeah, Venus.
Why did I think Sagittarius for you? Okay, so me, Deidre, and Sizzy, we all have Sagittarius ascendants. So you're going to get people with charts like that, and you're going to start to see the similarities. Sorry? Someone talk? Or was that a mistake, maybe?
I think Sam tried to say something.
Sam, were you trying to share something?
No, sorry, I just joined and my microphone was on, so I had to quickly mute it. Sorry.
Welcome. So we're talking here about planetary rulers, and you can rewind this again if you need to, but this is a very powerful concept. You get 3 people with the same ascendant, Sagittarius. Well, Jupiter is a big planet for all 3 of us. So you have a starting point of the attributes of Sagittarius. You can get this for your lunar return as well. I have Sagittarius this month, and in 2 months from now, I get Sagittarius again on my ascendant. whether you're looking at people's charts or your own charts, there is the overall tone of Sagittarius that's going to be the same. Going a step further, now you want to study the ruler of that sign. In this case, Jupiter. Now, when I do that, then I'm going to start to find the differences between my Sagittarius ascendant, Myra's Sagittarius ascendant, and Deidre's Sagittarius ascendant. So whereas all three of us, we share very similar paths, we share very similar overall themes here, we have that awesome understanding, there are still different roles with that energy. Slightly different ways of going about. So the third thing you do after you locate the ruler is you start to study it. What you do here is you spend time with it and you start to notice. You start to notice if your Jupiter, if that ruler of your chart is in the top hemisphere, it's in the low hemisphere, what house is it in? Are there any planets conjunct it? These are all things that are going to be adding to the quality of your Jupiter and are going to be adding to the themes of if you're working with a lunar return for your month. If you're working with your natal chart, this is your life. So for example, I have Jupiter rules my chart. Well, we know that Jupiter and Sagittarius and this archetype here has to do with expansion, with learning, with teaching, with mastery on that level, right? There's some sort of a expansion of the mind here and sharing and disseminating these ideas with others. So usually people that have a Sagittarius ascendant, they are thirsty for knowledge, they love to learn new things, and they're just natural teachers wherever they go. But I want more information. So what do? I track the energies of Jupiter. Jupiter for me is in my, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, you mentioned placements conjunct the ruler. Are we just talking about conjunctions for now, or can we look at other aspects to that?
So we haven't even gotten to aspects yet. Now right now, the only thing that I'm guiding it through is locating what is the ascendant and the ruler. Okay, so far that's the only thing that I've taught. So once you locate the ruler, in my case, Jupiter, now you're going to go, where is Jupiter? That's a third step. If it's a Gemini rising, where's Mercury? That's a third step. Locate it in your chart. Is it in the 7th house? Is it in the 1st house? So again, using my chart as an example, I'm going to locate Jupiter in my chart. I don't have the visual here in front of you, but this is very simple. It's in my 11th house. The ruler of your chart is going to be in a house. For me, it's the 11th house. The same Sagittarius rising for Myra is going to add a different component based on her Jupiter's placement. The same for Deidre. So Myra, where is Jupiter in your natal chart? What house?
Jupiter's in the 9th house.
Oh, ooh, talk about that archetype being strong for her. Whoa, you get Sagittarius, Jupiter, and 9th house, all three same archetype. You bring them together. Wow, Myra, that is a very defined path for you with that Sagittarius energy. Yeah. Okay, so with me, I'm including the 11th house. This is another archetype. It's the archetype of Aquarius, Uranus, which complements my journey in another way. For Myra, we got extra focus here on the Sagittarius energy. Deidre, where's the ruler?
Yes, my Jupiter is in the 7th house. The 7th house.
Wow. Okay, so there you go. You have Deidre's focus in the 7th house, my focus in the 11th house, and Myra's focus in the 9th house. How? By locating the ruler of your chart. In other words, the ruler of your ascendant. When you locate the house that the ruler of your ascendant is in, you're going to add more information. This is how you can start getting specific with energies here. This is how I can sit here and have a super lovely chat with these two beautiful women that hold the same life path energy as I do. And we can all just sit down and talk for a whole afternoon, sharing all these beautiful things in common. We're going to have very similar ways of expressing ourselves or understanding, like, right? Our lens, our filters are the same. However, when you really want to start reading between the lines and getting a little bit more in depth with these energies, you start to look at the house. Well, my Sagittarius is geared toward the community. I know this because I know my chart, and so I channel my work toward the community because that's my growth, that's my path. Myra's in the 9th house. It's a very peculiar energy with growth through learning, through sharing. This is like Myra will always be that. I call Myra my little sponge, okay? Well, that's what a sponge is. It's a Sagittarius, Jupiter, 9th house, so in focus like that. No matter where she goes, she's always going to be, I want to learn. I want to know how this is done. Teach me. And with that energy, she goes growing and growing and learning and learning and learning until one day she's just going to be this natural teacher wherever she goes, if she isn't already. With Deidre, I know the focus is bringing what? 7th house. So there's something really powerful for Deidre in the relationship sector that has to do with her path here. And there is this energy of growth and expansion for her includes another. So for her, this is either working, this will either give her the potential to work with someone, either work related, or this is a romantic partner that is going to help expand her path. So this is a co-creation that she has with another for her own expansion of these energies. The master, the teacher, so forth. Now we're including a potential spouse, working with others, partnerships. This is how she grows. This is how these energies grow for her. So this should give you an example here of what I'm referring to when I'm talking about working with rulers. And this is a very extensive subject that we can go adding and adding and adding. We can, once you understand how to work with rulers, you're going to go down the rabbit hole because there's so much that can be done with it, including what Jen briefly touched upon, which is aspects. So there are many things you can do just by studying the ruler of your chart. I'm not going to teach everything here now. We are going to use this concept from now on in almost all of our, because rulers are so important, and I hold back from using them because I don't want to overwhelm you with information. But now that I've passed on this concept to you, we're going to start using it, and you're going to see how it's going to add a lot more information to your readings. However, I don't want to confuse you. So right now, I just want you to stick to, first of all, locating what the ruler is. All you have to do is know what planet is associated with that sign. Number one. Number two, you're going to study the ruler. So you're going to locate it. Where is the ruler? Is it in my 4th house? Is it in my 9th house? Is it in my 2nd house of money? You're going to locate the ruler, locate the house of the ruler. And the sign as well, of course. The sign and the house. This is what I mean when I say study it. When I say study the ruler, sit with it. Even above and beyond this class over here, even things I haven't touched on or taught you, sit with the ruler. You're going to naturally notice things about your ruler. You're going to naturally notice that the ruler may be on an angle, may be conjunct another planet. You're going to start noticing things about your the ruler that you're looking at, and all those things you're going to notice are going to add a little more information to that. So when we had Carola sharing about her ruler being in the 8th house and how she's really experiencing all these 8th house themes now, this is what she was referring to, because she located the ruler, and the ruler, Saturn, was located in her 8th house. So now we're bringing 8th house themes into the energy of the ascendant. Whether you're using the ascendant to look at your path, your journey, your expression, your environment, all those things are the ascendant. So depending on what you're looking at, every day is going to be different. Or if you want to look at all of it at once, it takes a little longer, but it works. You look at the ruler, what house is it in? You're bringing the 8th house into the picture, that's a big energy. Big energy. And just a little pause here. Myra, are you keeping an eye out for anybody else wanting to come in? Because I'm not. I'm not seeing the option here. Okay, because I think you started a meeting for me. So by locating the house that the ruler is in, it's going to add so much more information about your ascendant. So that's what Carola was referring to. And she's been really feeling these 8th house themes come up. And what she was sharing was the correlation, how obvious it is, how, the contrast and the energies are so significant and so vivid for her right now that she can notice how the 8th house works. She's very familiar with it right now. So that is the basic blocks here. If you want to go a step further, you can start to include the aspects. I'm not going to go into aspects here now because aspects is something that I don't want to confuse you here because there's many different aspects, but the conjunction is the most important one. If you have the ruler of your chart, let's go again back to Sagittarius as the ascendant, ruler of the chart, Jupiter. My Jupiter is in the 11th house. Okay, got that. Well, now it's bringing along all the conjunctions. I have 3 planets in there altogether, Jupiter, Moon, and Saturn. And then a little further down, it's Pluto. But Moon, Jupiter, and Saturn, that is a conjunction that I have. Jupiter at 0 degrees Libra. The ruler of my chart is at 0 Libra. Saturn is at 2 Libra, and Moon is at 4 Libra for me in the 11th house. So what happens here is you got a big energy. This is a big stellium. We're not only getting the ruler of my chart as one of them, but also the moon, which is one of the pillars of someone's chart. So this is a big conjunction for me. So what happens is you get the energies of the planets around it in the conjunction, and you add that energy into your path, your personality, your journey, whatever themes you're looking at for the ascendant. So I know that the moon and Saturn are a huge part of my path, my personality, all that, my journey. When energies come together in a conjunction, they become one. This is not Moon and Saturn or Moon and Jupiter. No, my moon works together with Jupiter and Saturn. The things that I long and crave and all those emotional things, one energy. It comes together with, it's like if you're making a cake. You can make a strawberry cake, a chocolate cake. What is the cake you're making? So with certain components, it's all of it together. Here's the cake. So when it comes to do with your ascendant and the ruler of your ascendant, if you have any planets conjunct it, it's one cake. It's coming along for the ride. It's a powerful, powerful planetary energy for you here. Myra, do you have any conjunctions with your Jupiter?
No conjunctions.
Deidre?
Yes, I have a stellium. I have Mars and Venus with Jupiter in my 7th house in Cancer.
So there you go. If you don't have, like Myra said, if you don't have any planets, you're still having that ruler of your chart there. It doesn't mean anything. Look at the difference here. Myra has an unfiltered, so to speak. There's other aspects Jupiter is making, okay? There's no conjunction, so it's pure. It's a very pure expression of the Jupiter archetype here that Myra has. When you have other components like me and Deidre, that's quite a lot of, that's a big stellium too, by the way, okay? Wow. So that just makes her relationships all the more spicy, and this is Mars and Venus. It's all about the physical expressions of love, and, you know, especially when it's in the 7th house geared toward relationship. Mars can be a little argumentative as well, but Venus is the love. And so here, that's why I call it spicy, because it's sometimes it's a little bit of both. But with Jupiter there, it adds the growth factor into it. So whereas Myra has hers, this is Jupiter, this is Jupiter. What you see is what you get. Deidre and I have a few other components that add to the story. They just go adding information. Okay, mine is with Saturn and Moon. Well, how can this play out in the community? You know, how can this play out in her service to others in her work? With Deidre, the questions would be, how would this play out with her relationships? How would this serve her growth? Jupiter needs to grow. And even if it's not Jupiter, even if it's another planet, if it's coming from your ascendant, it needs to be in focus. So if you have other energies over there, you're getting those energies and you're including them into your path, into your expression. So knowing what house it's in, that's important. Where does it play out? Any planets in there, how does it play out? Now, for those that missed the email, next month on November, we're going to start a new series where we're going to start to learn how to synthesize these energies. Up until now, we've only been learning the foundational pieces. And that's been giving a lot of you a head start with this. But from November on, we're going to start a new segment where we're going to be learning how to combine these energies, how to start putting a chart together. Okay? So when we get there, it's going to be a lot easier, and that's why I'm preparing you now with these concepts. The ruler is a super big concept, because when we start to synthesize the chart, then we see, oh, my ruler's in the 7th, my ruler's in the 8th, and then it's going to be easier to blend these energies. So we're going to leave it here for now, that the 4th component here is the aspects. Not getting too deep into it, but mainly keeping focus on the conjunctions, because the conjunctions will merge into one energy together. So if you have conjunctions with the ruler of your chart, those energies become one. Then you want to study it even more, sit with it even more, because now they're adding, now it's not just that pure expression of the energy. Now there's other factors. Now I have Mars. Ooh, how do I fit Mars in there? Mars needs to express. Mars needs to vent. Mars needs to be sensual. Mars needs to not be held back. Well, what does Venus need? Venus needs to find happiness. Venus needs to find pleasure, right? So you're adding these energies here to how she needs to expand, where she needs to expand. You start to build on top of that. So rulers of the chart with those 3 foundational pieces, aspects number 4, if you want to include them in, start playing around with them. Does anybody have any questions specifically about the things that I've talked about? About the ruler? Yes, Jen.
So one thing that came to mind in terms of like adding to the study, if the ruler of the chart is retrograde, should that be included in the study, or can we leave
so when it comes to the ruler of the chart, there are many ways that we can study it. Like I said, there are many things that you're going to find about the ruler of your chart. The retrograde is one of them, possibly. It could be retrograde if we're working with lunar returns. People that are getting, Gemini, for example, for their ascendant, that makes Mercury the ruler of their chart. And right now, Mercury is retrograde. If you get that in your natal chart, for example, you have, let's say, a Libra ascendant, and you were born with a Venus retrograde, there's more attention, more focus for you on that. It's just a different way of communicating. It's just, pay attention. There is something about that the journey of that planet. It's retrograde, and that planet that is retrograde is going to add more information for you as to how this is going to vary depending on the cycles of your life. But overall, it's an energy that is definitely more in focus for you. So right now it would be more in focus because we're in Mercury retrograde. So if you get that Mercury as the ruler of your ascendant this month, the Mercury retrograde is in focus for you. That's just one of the ways of looking at it. It's a very small one, okay? There's so many other components to it. And that's why right now I'm sticking mainly to the things that I taught, which is locate the ruler, locate the house it's in, right? And the sign as well. The sign, that was the third one. And then any conjunctions that it may have. So if you have any questions in regard to that.
I had a question, Raquel.
Yes.
This is Deidre. So we talked about the natal chart and how powerful the ruler of the chart is.
Yes.
And so just talking about the lunar return a bit in that same vein, the ruler of the chart is still important in the lunar return. But I'm sensing, and I guess I want to ask the question, the lunar return chart, is it as, well, I've experienced it as powerful. How, like is lunar return more of a subtle energy?
Yes. So we explained that in the first class.
Yeah.
I do recommend, if anybody listening to this has not watched the previous classes of lunar returns, please watch it. It's in the folder of the lunar return tab. And just because I teach so much in there preparing for this stage. And it's okay if you attend the class and don't remember, that's fine. There's so much that I talk about, and that's okay also. But just to let you know that those other classes, there's so much gold in there, so much gold. And I am going to go to, now I'm going to transition into, very soon I'm going to transition into rulers of charts for lunar returns. Right now I'm starting with the natal chart because it's, just setting the foundation here. But you're going to see that these energies, they are, on lunar returns, they are very transient. Is that how you say it? Transient. And so they are definitely much, 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 much less than a natal chart. Like what you see in a lunar return versus a natal chart is like, you don't even compare it. A lot of energies in a lunar return chart, you don't even really feel it. These times we're in, they're fantastic because the energies are so strong and so acute. So you notice everything. So it's easier to study your lunar return and notice these shifts, these changes, these energies. But overall speaking, it's not an energy that you are going to really experience as that catalyst moment. No. Unless, of course, you are in a pivotal month, which does happen to us all from time to time, but that's determined by greater cycles, progress charts, solar returns, bigger transits, and lunar returns help to fill in the pieces.
And I ask that because just the way I've been experiencing lunar returns since you've been teaching it, it's a more subtle energy, but it's powerful in its subtlety. Because what I have seen or experienced in my life is that the ascendant energy in my lunar returns are very prominent. But it's not where it just bowls you over, But it's still very prominent and it's distinctive. And now that I'm learning through you how to see what it is, I can feel it,
Wow, I love that feedback. Deidre. If anyone else has also feedbacks about their experiences, please share, because this is perfect what she shared over here. Like she's been noticing the energy of the ascendant come up as a theme. This is very important. And you will notice that the ascendant, the energy of the ascendant will be, for the most part, and this is where I'm interested in hearing your experience with it. For me, at least, it's this way. The energy of the ascendant is stronger for me than where the moon is at in my lunar return. I feel it more. So this is something that I'm also curious to hear how you're feeling. Oh, I'm feeling more my moon, or I know, definitely know, because maybe it's just a matter of paying attention too. Maybe I just naturally pay attention to the ascendant more, but the moon is also a very crucial part of the lunar return chart, and it's going to add information. But like I said, because it's emotional, it's a little more subtle. It's not something you may necessarily notice unless you're looking at it and you're like, oh, yeah, that's true. That correlates with my experience.
Yeah, I also been really feeling the ascendant, and because I had a couple times Scorpio on my ascendant, and again, the eighth house theme. And also, what is now coming in is the Pisces energy on my ascendant, and Neptune, the ruler, is also in the first house on my lunar return, and my progressed ascendant is exactly 18 degree Pisces. So it's like so Neptune. So it explains a lot what I've been going through, and I see this is really becoming the theme because it's it's so the Neptune, because I've been like, why am I more and more just like in these other realms, and I can't, because I'm a double Capricorn, but I can't find the grounding right now. I just can't. I'm just like up in these other realms.
Oh my God. Guys, when Pisces is in town, when Neptune is in town, this is like, you got to be okay with putting your real world on hold. Because, yeah, things definitely get, and I think like Myra, you're having a lot of, right? I think your Mercury is, what is it? Your progressed Mercury conjunct Neptune? Or transiting Neptune just entered your IC. I think that's what happened, right? And your progressed Mars is about to enter Pisces. When is that going to happen?
December.
That's huge. This is going to rock your world, especially progressed. This is going to be the rest of your life.
So I just realized, and my progressed Mars is on top of my natal moon right now, and 25, which is which is opposite the whole make it or break it in Capricorn, because my natal moon is at 25 Cancer.
So when you see these energies start to build up and really confirm, like now it's about the Pisces energy for you, you see this in your chart, you're able to just surrender to it and be like, okay, maybe my cycles are changing. Maybe I need to start looking at things in a different way, because these are big cycles. This is not just a lunar return. The big cycles here are the progress chart, which we're going to be learning about once we start to synthesize and all of that. And when you see your bigger cycles at play, the lunar returns are just the little confirmations, like, all right, this is where it's coming out this month. This is what, you know what I mean? So when you're going through a big cycle like that, you're always going to see confirmations in many places. Oh, moon conjunct this, Neptune, this is coming up in my lunar return as well. Like that's normal. This means that these energies are really speaking to you, because the less things you have going on there, the less probability it is for those themes to be developed in your life. Everything is about free will, everything is about perceptions, but the more confirmations there are, the more you are surrounded by these energies. And so it makes it just this is it, honey, just navigate through it. That's intense though. That's intense. I hear you. Paul, I know you have something to say.
I've noticed, like, well, okay, the intensity, okay, with Pluto as my chart ruler, pretty much my life has been intense. But I mean, this is interesting. This is like just a magnificently interesting time, and this particular lesson is cool because I just briefly got a whack of stuff happening in this general area. So I'll just, to be specific, my ascendant is Sagittarius, so I follow that over to Jupiter, which is in the nature.
Just a second. Are you talking about your natal chart? Or
not the natal, in my lunar.
Okay, we haven't gotten there yet on the lunar, but right now I'm establishing the energies of what is a ruler, and starting with the natal chart. This is super because this is your entire life. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's cool. I'm kind of, because I guess maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit because things are jumping into my mind and I'm noticing correlations which are coming through the chart rulers now.
Yeah. So remember, so I'm going to go to the lunar returns now. We're going to transition now and see how that applies to the lunar return.
And I'll talk later on this.
Yeah, it's very normal. Once you learn about rulers, your mind opens up, your possibilities open up, and there are a million things that can be taken into consideration. All the way from the planet being retrograde, like Jen said, all the way to aspects it's going to be making. There's so much, and that's why I started off by saying, just study it. Because you're gonna see, you're gonna have a list of, oh, but the ruler's doing this, but that's that, and then what does it mean? It's gonna change your world once you start to include rulers. If you're obsessed about astrology now, get ready, because it's about to take another turn. So there's no way that I can cover everything here. I will try to answer some questions. I will give you some examples, but let's remember that this is a very basic introduction, and what you really need to focus on right now, if this is a new concept for you, is where the ruler of your chart is. So the house, sign, and conjunctions are really the primary thing that we want to focus here on this one, just so we won't overwhelm everybody. Okay?
Can I the orb for conjunction?
That could be the same as what I taught you in my conjunctions, in my aspects class. That's also in the mentorship program. So I have a whole folder of aspects that we go through all the aspects. And when we work with conjunctions, there's no cut and dry answer. So in that video, I explain how I work with conjunctions, and if it's in an angular house, you give more room because the energies are stronger. There's many different factors. So just refer to that video, please. Okay. So now that we have those three things defined, let's see how they apply to a lunar return chart. It doesn't matter what chart you're working with. If you are working with the ruler of the chart, that's an important focus for you. Natal, lunar, solar return. The ruler of your ascendant is, I'd say, the fourth pillar. The fourth pillar. Being that the sun, moon, and ascendant, right, are the three pillars. The ruler of your ascendant is the fourth pillar. Locating the ruler of your ascendant is going to add information about your life, if it's your natal chart. It's going to add information about your month, if it's your lunar return. And it will add information about your year, if it's the solar return. So what you want to do, if you're looking at your lunar return chart, and you're looking at that ascendant of yours that you've already been looking at for the last month or so, now you're going to be like, wow, I can get more information about my month ahead if I locate the ruler of my chart. So you're going to do, again, you're going to see what planet it is, what house that planet is in for you. The house it's in is probably the most important next step, because the house is going to add another 40% of the interpretation. We can get 5 people in this room right now having a Sagittarius ascendant, but where that Jupiter is in your lunar return is going to add information and going to differentiate my month from your month. There's other differentiations. There's a lot of other things, but that's a huge, huge, huge one. What house is it in? Even if you don't do anything else, okay, it may feel overwhelming, or maybe you're not ready, and maybe it's not even necessary. I don't use all the details every time. Just knowing the house is in, boom, that's already enough for you to give someone a reading right there. So what I want you to do now, before I continue explaining and open up for questions around this, I want you to notice where the ruler of your lunar return chart is for that month. This is another way of slightly doing the same thing we did with the moon. Where is the moon? What house is the moon in for you on your lunar return? That's where the emotional awareness is going to be bringing you to that month.
And we're
going to do the same thing with the ruler of the chart, except that it's not emotional awareness per se. It's just everything in a nutshell. that ruler is speaking for your ascendant, speaking for your month. It's the spokesperson. So just like the moon, this ruler of your chart this month is a big deal. So the house is in, that's more than enough. Sometimes I don't have time, or it's not even necessary to go that in depth and look at all the aspects and look at, it's interesting. Definitely important for a natal chart. Definitely important. If it's a natal chart ruler you're looking at, study it every day, top to bottom. Like every time you're going to find something new. You want to get to know that character inside out as much as you can, because that guy is important for you. If it's for your month, you may not really feel all the, depending on what it is, you may feel some, you may not feel all. So just study, sit with it. But knowing the house is in, it's already huge part. So my question is, are you seeing any correlation with the ruler of your lunar return and the house it's in? And you start with that, just very soft energies. Not, you don't have to start piling up all these things and all the conjunctions and all the aspects. Just what house is it in? Just sit with that. If you want, just sit with that for your entire month. Because this is my purpose, is teaching little by little so you can learn well. And then next time we have another concept and you remember that, so it's easier to integrate the new one. So if you feel that it's better for you, just work with that. Where's the ruler? What house is it in? And knowing that house, knowing what the energies are from that house, you can join those energies into your theme for the month ahead. Now, with time, you're going to notice there are millions of little components that can come up here. Maybe that Jupiter, let's say we're working with Jupiter still, maybe that Jupiter in, let's say, the second house. Ooh, Jupiter in the second house this month. That's exciting. That's money, that's power, that's in the financial sector. That's cool. But, lunar returns, we are working with energies that are happening for everybody. So if I'm looking at a Jupiter, where's Jupiter right now in the sky? Jupiter is together with the make it or break it. See that? Now we're adding, it's not just Jupiter. If it's in your natal chart, okay, it's just Jupiter. What does Jupiter mean? Blah, blah, blah. In your lunar return, you're working with real-time energies that are coming up for the month. So if your chart's ruler is Jupiter for that month, then you're not just taking Jupiter into consideration. You're not even just taking the attributes of Jupiter into consideration, but you're taking the entire energy focus of where Jupiter is in the sky. And you're bringing that into your ascendant. Now, if Jupiter wasn't making any conjunctions with planets, then okay. Then you just want to see what else is Jupiter doing and blah, 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 and so forth. So this is how you start to slowly add to your interpretation. If it's a lunar return, like I said, it's real-time alignments. If it's a Gemini you're getting for your rising, that means it's Mercury. So you want to locate where's Mercury in your chart. We know that right now Mercury is in Scorpio for everybody. So we know that Mercury is going to be in Scorpio wherever that comes up for you in your chart. And now you're not just dealing with Mercury related themes, but you're also working with the energies, the current energies of Mercury coming up for your month, which are what? Mercury retrograde. There's a lot of that opposition with Uranus happening as well in the sky for everybody. So if Mercury is the ruler of your chart this month, that opposition with Uranus is highlighted for you as well. That's another way of looking at what's highlighted for you versus for others. So you can go incorporating. Another thing that you're going to notice, and I'm not teaching you this here, I'm just throwing it out there to show you all the things that can be done with it. Another thing you're going to notice is how, let's say Mercury, okay, Mercury in Scorpio is coming up as your ascendant ruler. You got a Gemini ascendant, and Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is the ruler of your ascendant. Well, you're going to see that Mercury retrograde, let's see what degree Mercury is in right now. just to have a little bit more of a, where is it? You're going to see that Mercury in Scorpio right now. Actually,
it's in Libra right now.
You already went back to Libra. Okay. All right. Well,
Mercury in Scorpio.
yeah. Well, let's just stick to the Scorpio one, just since we started with that one. So let's say that you got, for example, many of us got Mercury in Scorpio for the lunar return, and let's say that Mercury is in a very powerful placement right now, definitely highlighting a lot of the make it or break it, because it's going back into Libra, and so it's starting to square the Capricorn energy, Pluto, Saturn. So that's going to be a biggie coming up this next week for us all. But let's say that you got the Mercury in Scorpio for your lunar return, and let's say that Mercury is at 5 degrees Scorpio, and let's say that in your natal chart you have, let's say, a sun at 5 degrees Scorpio or around that zone. That's something else you're going to start to do naturally as you start to memorize certain placements of your chart, and you see that in your lunar return, your chart ruler is Mercury in Scorpio, and that month you got Mercury right on the same spot where your sun is in your natal chart. You're going to notice that. I'm not teaching you this concept. We're not going to go in depth, but this is something else you're going to notice. So you're going to see how, depending on the month, you're going to have these energies be brought to you even stronger. If it was just a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio as the ruler of your ascendant, okay, that's an energy. But if it's bringing your natal sun or your natal moon, or maybe even your natal ascendant, or Corolla was talking about her progressed ascendant also being in Pisces and being brought this month to the ascendant, right? This month she's having a Pisces ascendant. Okay. Well, when you look deeper, oh my God, that's also where her progressed ascendant is. So you're going to see a lot of these big energies coming up either on your ascendant for the month or conjunct the ruler of your ascendant. These are energies that are highlighted for you. So basically, you're getting that component from your natal chart or your progressed chart, and you're highlighting it. If it's your sun, wow, there's something with men, there's something with your expression, maybe your vitality. It just depends on what the planet is. If it's a Mercury retrograde, we're bringing in Mercury retrograde things here. So this is going a step further, and this is already very advanced techniques. This is why I'm not going deep into it yet with you. I'm just giving you a little taste. I know many of you are already exploring that. That's why we're just briefly touching on it here. This is considered an advanced technique. So don't feel like you have to understand it all now. That's why, again, I say just notice, study your chart's rulers, and these observations are going to naturally start to come out for you. Oh, that's where my so-and-so is. Oh, that's the second time it does that. Oh, it's on an angle. These aspects. And as you notice these things, you start to learn how to incorporate them too. Okay, questions or comments? Anyone?
Yes. It's just that's actually happening to me right now. The things you just mentioned with the Mercury, because my lunar return started out yesterday. So and my ascendant is in Virgo. So I have Mercury as the ruler, and Mercury, the ruler, is exactly on top of my natal ascendant in Libra, 27 degrees of Libra. So that thing that you just talked about before, that concept is just happening to me right now. And
wow.
that it's squaring the make it or break it in Capricorn. So yeah.
And you see, wow, and even the way that you talk about it, Susie, I mean, I know you don't know everything of what it means, but you're very familiar here. Like you're putting the pieces together. And I love this. And I know many of you are doing the same. So that's why just by noticing, oh my God, that's where my progressed ascendant, it's coming up on the ruler. Like you don't even have to know what it means. Like just know that it's highlighted. If you know it's highlighted because it's coming up on together with the ruler or on the angle or on the, you know it's highlighted, that's good enough for now. Because if you know it's highlighted, you're going to naturally want to look at it a little more, read in between the lines. And as you do that, you start to notice more. And with the knowledge you already have, you have a good enough knowledge to get an overall idea of the energies that are coming together here. So even the make it or break it, we talk about it every month in our YouTube videos, our classroom videos. Well, these are energies that you're working with every month. So knowing when they're highlighted and how, it starts to speak to you. Speak, speak. Oh, wow. And then it makes you think. And then it makes you contemplate.